guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chloe if you are new here, and for today's video I am talking about merchandising, which I haven't done in quite some time. But I was thinking about it sitting here on my computer, and I was thinking about what are some merchandising jobs that you can do remotely? Do those even exist? And I thought I'd throw a little video together from what I found. If you do enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more. I do a lot of book-related content now as I am an indie published author. You can check out any of my books in the description box below. And if you want to check out my other merchandising content, I have a whole playlist. I have a website, my own course, resources, things like that, all in the description box below. So what merchandising jobs can you do at home? Surprisingly, not a ton. Well, not really surprisingly, honestly, if you consider what merchandising entails. But there's things like online merchandising, right? We went through the different types of merchandising that there are. There are site merchandisers, which just, you know, merchandise on websites. It's basically in the title. And there's not a ton that you can do remotely, but one position that kept popping up when I was researching this was merchandise planners, and I was really curious as to what this was because I wasn't very familiar with it. And upon my research, this is what merchandising planning is. Merchandise planners are in charge of developing effective merchandise strategies for their company. They are responsible for creating sound financial plans that reduce company spending and increase overall profit. This also kind of reminds me of like a buyer in a sense. So I feel like those two kind of go hand in hand. But it's interesting because with merchandise planners, they're a lot more specific on the experience you need to become one. With merchandising, I've talked a lot about how you can get one with little to no experience like I have, building a portfolio, things like that. But with merchandise planning, since it's more buying and planning on what you're going to be merchandising and selling in store, obviously the requirements to do so are stricter. So a frequently asked question is, how do I become a merchandise planner? The qualifications for a merchandise planner are a bachelor's degree in merchandising or business, retail store experience, and office experience. You can specialize in a particular market such as fashion merchandising, or you can be a general merchandising planner for any retail product. A merchandise planner is in charge of planning and monitoring a company inventory. Merchandise analysts also follow the charts of sales, profits, or losses of company or store they work for. I'm just going through all the frequently asked questions for this. What are 4 levels of merchandise planning? Perform a post-season analysis. The first thing you need is an understanding of how things went during the previous sales season, and you're going to get that with data. Forecast sales, plan and implement the assortment, and control merchandise. I do feel like this is really interesting because when I was a merchandiser, you didn't really get a say into what obviously the store is going to get. That was entirely just corporate. And obviously corporate's going to look at the numbers of sales and things that are popular and are selling and what are not, and that's hence how things become discontinued, or one of the reasons things become discontinued. But I thought merchandise planning was really interesting because obviously if you worked at like a smaller store, I feel like it might be easier to do merchandising planning. Like again, when we talked about merchandising for bigger stores and corporations, or like merchandising in boutiques, I feel like if you did a smaller store like a boutique or something, it would be a lot easier to get into that field of merchandise planning because I feel like there's more of like, oh, I don't want to say anything goes, but it's more realistic that you would have that freedom rather than a lot of corporations are very by the book and it's their way. They have tons of people in the upper doing all that, so you don't have to. And when I was a merchandiser, it was really fun to merchandise things, yes, but sometimes the limitations for merchandising for a corporation were so different because you didn't really have, you had strict guidelines you had to follow, or there were certain things that you just simply weren't allowed to do. And with that, I felt like it was kind of a cool challenge with merchandising because sometimes corporate would have you circulate certain product that wasn't selling, so then you'd be given a task of shining a new light on a item that wasn't selling, and you're like, hey, how do I give it new life? How do I pique interest? How do I get people to buy this? So it's kind of back and forth. It's cool. But merchandise planning I thought was really interesting. And when I was looking at remote work, remote merchandising work. Similar with like online merchandising or site merchandising, you usually, from what I've read, you've typically needed experience. Again, I haven't had this position, but this is all for my research, but you typically need like a bachelor's degree or something, a lot of e-commerce experience and digital advertising experience and things like that. So I found that all really interesting because that's kind of certain things that I would love to do, and I would love to learn about that too. I know with, I've talked to you guys before about the Yellow Brick courses. I've taken the Fashion Business Essentials and Fashion Industry Essentials course, and those both cover the fashion industry. Fashion business went into a little bit more detail about merchandising. There is no course through Yellow Brick as of right now that is strictly merchandising, but they kind of introduce it in the Fashion Industry Essentials program, and they go into a little bit more detail for fashion business, because in the business they are discussing the importance of each role in the industry, whichever you choose to pursue. And if you're curious to check out either of those two courses, again, they will be linked in the description box below, so be sure to check that out. I think it's just kind of interesting in the world that we live in. I feel like there's so much opportunity out there, and I think it's hard too with remote work. I feel like a lot more people are looking for remote work rather than like on site, and I think that remote work is even more difficult nowadays more than ever because it's like so insanely competitive. So you're like, okay, how do I stand out from other candidates? Or especially if I have no experience, it's very difficult. I won't lie, I'm not gonna lie to you. It's really hard, it's very competitive, but I don't think it's always gonna be like that. I think with anything, with this huge turning point of the demand for remote work and realizing that a lot of jobs can be done remotely or from home or wherever, I think this is gonna be a huge turning point, and in the next few years or so, it's not gonna be as difficult or competitive. I think we're gonna really see a huge transition. Also, on top of this, before I close out this video, I do want to say that I found some really great resources on Amazon for merchandise planning if you are interested. There are really good books, workbooks, and other resources like that. I will link that in the description box if you guys are curious. Don't forget, if you want to check out my course, I do have my own course, the merchandisingforum.com. Well, that is my own website, but I do have a course on there, and it's an introduction to the basics of visual merchandising. If you're curious on checking that out, be sure to check out that link in the description box. I am running a little discount right now, so you can take it for cheaper than what it usually is. All the details again down below. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. It's kind of fun to do a merchandising video. I haven't done one in a very long time. If you'd like to see any more merchandising videos, definitely let me know in the comments below, and I will try to do a couple more here and there when I think of something good. But other than that, I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye guys.